And you should have did you get a note that says it's streaming live or something?
I did.
Okay,
Well, that was
so
being recorded.
now we just have to wait for the confirmation that it is streaming. But everything looks normal on my end for now. It didn't look normal, but I'll wait for
I
my.
got a notice that we were streaming as well, Barbara.
Perfect. Okay.
So
Awesome.
did I.
All right.
All right, it's a go. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Clean Energy Alliance Board of Directors meeting for September 30th, 2021. We are virtually in the city of Carlsbad. Could I please get a roll call?
Member Drucker,
Here.
Vice Chair Bob Patel,
Here.
Chair Becker.
Present.
Thank you.
All right, and we are ready for our flag salute, and hopefully we'll see that on the screen in a few seconds. And if Vice Chair Bob Patel could lead us, that would be great.
Sure, of course. All right, so ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any board comments or announcements? Seeing none. Presentation. We have a presentation today.
I'm not seeing our alternate board member.
Oh, right, you're right. We can come
right.
back to it. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can come back to that. Is it going to be Dwight Warden?
It is. He is the chair of our community advisory committee, and I can.
Oh, it's only 1 minute after 2, so
Yeah.
he's probably just a few minutes. Okay, so let's. Do we have any public comment today?
We have no request to speak.
All right. Could I, moving on to the approval of the minutes? Could I get a
Would
motion?
move reapproval of the August 26, 2021 and September 16th, 2021 minutes.
Thank you.
Second.
Perfect. Call for the vote.
Member Drucker,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bob Patel,
Aye.
Chair Becker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Consent calendar. Any items need to be pulled and discussed? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to move those forward.
I would move items 1 and 2 on the consent calendar.
Second.
All right. Can we vote?
Member Drucker,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bob Patel,
Aye.
Chair Becker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. We are on to new business, item number 3, and I'm going to turn this over to our Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you, Chair Becker, and I will share my screen for the presentation. So this item is our monthly administrative and regulatory update. So I will provide an administrative update, and then you'll hear from our regulatory counsel, Ty Todsdal, for a regulatory affairs update. And actually, I'm going to turn it over to our general counsel, Greg Stepanisic. He's going to provide an update to the board with regards to AB 361, which is new legislation regarding public meetings. And so, Greg, if you, I don't know if you have a presentation or.
I do. So,
okay, so let me stop.
I don't have one to pull up, but just
Okay.
my report. It's going to be pretty straightforward. I think board members are familiar with the general terms of AB 361, and that applies not only to cities, but also to our as a JPA. And what it did is it really builds upon the pandemic rules we had for doing remote meetings that were done pursuant to the governor's executive order. That executive order actually expires today, but the legislation, which was signed by the governor on September 16th as urgency legislation, actually for the purposes of our meetings now goes into effect starting tomorrow. And so what it's going to allow us to do is to continue with our meetings as long as there are certain conditions that are met. So number one, and this is now different than what the rules were previously, in that, number one, there has to be a governor's state of emergency in place, which there is. And there's no indication of when that will be expiring. But there are two other conditions that must be met. And one is that state or local officials have imposed or are recommending measures to promote social distancing. And the second one is that the agency has determined that as a result of the state of emergency, me in person would present imminent risk to the health or safety of attendees. And so that those findings will need to be made next month prior to the start of your a remote meeting. If that's the direction of the board to continue with remote meetings, we will need to make those findings. And then there are additional findings that will need to be made every 30 days thereafter to continue using the remote procedures. And that those are to again indicate that the emergency is continuing in effect, and also that there is a continuing threat to public health and safety, or that there are social distancing requirements in place either by local officials or by the state, or there are social distancing recommendations. So there are really two grounds that can be relied upon for continuing the remote meetings. And again, we will present these to you in October so that if we have the direction for you to continue with remote meetings. One other change here that will take place in our own procedures, though, is with receiving public comments. And under the new statute, we do have to allow for real-time comments. So can't not simply provide for email comments to the board. There will either by telephone or through Zoom. We are going to have to allow lifetime comments. And so that will be the one change that we will have. Also, the legislation clarifies that if we have a disruption like we had at the last meeting, with our transmission of our remote meeting, then we cannot proceed with any business and need to stop until we come back on live. And that's what we did, in fact, during our last special meeting, but that now is put into the statute. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board members may have.
Yeah, thank you for that report. How will we know if someone wants to speak? Does the clerk have that information if someone's calling?
The clerk will be able to monitor that if it's done right through Zoom. People can actually indicate that they want to speak, and so the clerk will be able to see who's in line to do that.
All right, so you'll be watching that online as we're meeting too.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. All good. Any other questions, comments? Okay, so we'll look forward to seeing that in October. It's back to our CEO.
All right.
Okay, I'll go back to my screen share. So the next update is with regards to our Clean Energy Alliance expansion. As you're all aware, it's always been a priority of Clean Energy Alliance to expand into other cities within San Diego gas and electric territory. And that would include those cities in Orange County that are fully served by SDG&E. And we've been very active in speaking with them. We had conversation with San Clemente, who is in the process of evaluating community choice energy and the options before them, and they're expressed an interest in Clean Energy Alliance. We actually had an exciting development from a meeting yesterday with the city of Oceanside. Their city council had a workshop on community choice energy and took a vote, and they did vote to join Clean Energy Alliance if all of the other North 78 corridor cities also join. And so we are in the process of reaching out to those other cities, which are Vista, San Marcos, and Escondido, and speak to them about the possibility of joining Clean Energy Alliance. The time is ticking away in terms of timing with regards to implementing Clean Energy Alliance service in 2023. In order to begin serving customers during the calendar year 2023, we would need to file an amended implementation plan with the PUC by the end of this calendar year. However, we still, of course, and we know that that may be a little too quick for some of the cities, but 2024 will be here before we know it. And whatever timing works for the cities, we will absolutely work with them in bringing it along. In terms of our programs, I'll stop there to see if there's any questions about our expansion activities before moving along. Okay, you might.
It looks like Councilmember Drucker has a question or comment.
Yes. So the resolution was that they will join CEA if Vista, San Marcos, and Escondido also join. Where do Vista, San Marcos, and Escondido stand in terms of looking at this?
So they also have done a recent feasibility, and we are in the process of sending letters and reaching out to set up meetings to speak to them about that, and encourage them to bring it before their city councils.
And is there anything the board should be doing at this point?
Our chair is participating in calls with the elected officials. Unfortunately, because of the Brown Act, we can't have two of our board members on the same meeting. So we are actively reaching out to the elected officials as well.
But it would be great if you had a relationship with one of the council members. If you wanted to talk to them yourself, that would be really helpful, I would say.
Yes.
Well, I'll see if Rebecca Jones, the mayor of San Marcos, would chat with me, and I guess Judy Ritter, the mayor of Vista.
Perfect.
Yep.
That would be really good.
And
Oh, and same with Paul McNamara, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
See if I can reach out to them.
Yep. Great. And I'm happy to provide you with whatever information you might need, Board Member Drucker, in advance of any discussions.
Okay.
With regards to our programs, we provided an update at the last meeting that we were entering into an agreement with Ohm Connect. It's a partnership, a marketing partnership to encourage customers to sign up, and they receive a free smart thermostat in order to participate in reducing usage during particular times. Those customers can earn rewards in response for reducing usage during peak times. That helps Clean Energy Alliance in managing its energy usage and reducing its exposure to peak time pricing, and also helps to stabilize the grid and provide resilience and grid reliability. We had our first email blast that went out this week, and don't have yet any statistics, but we'll be able to share with you at the next meeting how that program is going. We also have out our request for proposals for these commercial solar and battery storage program, which closes tomorrow. Mr. Drucker.
Yeah, is your still hand up, or is it from before?
No, I just raised it again. So this OHM program lasts through October, and after October, it's no longer valid.
It goes on, the free thermostat program ends, and they anticipate having another promotional item, but the program to encourage the reduction during what they call an ohm hour. So generally either during flex alerts that are called by the California Independent System Operators, or other times where they're anticipating peak demand, Ohm Connect will reach out to those customers and communicate that it's an ohm hour and they're encouraging reduction in usage. That will be ongoing. And the rewards program is ongoing. but the free thermostat ends the end of October.
Okay, thank you.
And before we move on to the regulatory update, could I don't know if it would be a program, but I wanted to ask you if you could look into maybe seeing what we could do, some ideas for encouraging businesses and residents to opt up to the 100% renewable. I don't know, I know that there is a business, the San Leo JPA has opted up to the 100% renewable. And I think it would, we might want to do something, some kind of bonus or some kind of thing that recognizes what they've done. And I don't know if it's just putting it on the website or something, just to recognize businesses and residents. I don't know, maybe it should just be limited to businesses because that would be beneficial for them. And maybe residents don't want that on there. So just to toss some things out to see.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have heard, thank you for that suggestion. And now that we're fully launched, I think it's a great idea to start looking at ways to encourage customers to opt up to our 100% renewable energy program. And I'll reach out to our great marketing communications team and see what ideas they might have with regards to marketing that and how we might recognize customers who are enrolled, and particularly the commercial customers. I have heard some CCAs, they have, recognizing a green business, for example, by giving some sort of a sticker for their windows or doors, and also maybe, giving them an advertisement on our website is listed as one of our green customers. So I think that's a great suggestion, and we will, I'll reach out to our team at Trippepi Smith and we'll bring back some ideas and see what we can come up with.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'd like to turn it over to our regulatory counsel, Ty Tosdahl, and I know he generally has a presentation, so I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to make sure that he can share his screen. Yep, okay.
Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Can you still see it?
Yep.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Ms. Boswell. Wanted to report back to you all about a few energy regulatory items that have transpired since our last meeting. And just for an overview, I wanted to talk a little bit about financial security requirements, some developments in the PCIA implementation process, and then some pretty big changes coming to the resource adequacy framework. And that process is just getting underway, and I wanted to let you all know about it. So just diving right in, CEA along with STCP filed a protest to an advice letter that SDG&E filed. They had made some changes to the financial security requirements. The overall amount of the financial security requirement was unchanged. But we scrutinize these pretty closely because the financial security requirement is a financial obligation that the organization is required to meet. You may remember when CEA got off the ground, this used to be a bond requirement. So these financial security requirements took the place of a bond requirement. So SDG&E changed some of the RPS and RA values. They increased the planning reserve margin. There's no overall change in the financial security or minimum financial security amount. It's still $147,000, but we are scrutinizing these closely, especially in light of some developments that occurred with Western Community Energy. They received a pretty substantial bill from Southern California Edison due to customers returning to the utility. So now we scrutinize these pretty closely, again, because this is an important financial obligation for the organization. And so we submitted a formal protest raising concerns about this issue. We did have a discussion with SDG&E about it as well, which went fairly well, and they acknowledged that the planning reserve margin shouldn't have been increased, and agreed to reduce that in future filings. So we made some progress there. And we also raised the issue of getting better notice about changes to this requirement. So we'll see how the protests shake out. The commission will be issuing a resolution regarding some of the changes that were made. And so I will report back to you all about that process when it is completed. Moving along, a couple of developments on the PCIA front. We have been working with a group of CCA programs through CalCCA to submit comments. Yeah, I'm sorry, Barbara, go ahead.
Are you advancing your slides because they're not advancing for us?
I am. Let me hang on one second. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
There we
Can you
go.
see the
Yep.
new slide now? Okay.
Yep.
I'll keep it in this setting. Thank you. There were some changes that we've been advocating for, some changes to the schedule and the era proceeding. And this sounds, very dry, and obviously it is to some extent, but the schedule and the era proceeding, which is where the rates are set for the utilities for the next year, has a kind of a systemic problem with it. And that is, we get a lot of data and testimony at the end of the year in November. And we don't really have time to scrutinize that or analyze it properly. And so we've been making a push to change the schedule. The utilities uniformly oppose this step, but nevertheless, it's an important thing to do because we really just don't have the time between November and the end of the year, when these things are usually decided, to really do the analysis that we should do. We do our best with the time available. We do as much as we can in advance. Our ERA Council is very aggressive on that, but nevertheless, we've been pushing for a change in the schedule. I also wanted to mention too that the utilities put out an advice letter on what's called the RPS voluntary auction market offer. That is a mechanism that's designed to permit CCA programs to access the resources in the utility portfolio for which we pay the PCIA. There were some issues with it, so there's that. This is also being protested, but ultimately this will be resolved, and CEA will have the opportunity to access some of the resources in SDG&E's portfolio. So our procurement team is obviously aware of this, and it's something we've been pushing for since CCA customers have traditionally paid the PCIA without having access to any of the power associated with those costs that they pay. And then lastly, I wanted to discuss just briefly some changes in the resource adequacy framework. This process is just getting underway. I wanted you all to know that it was starting. The RA framework is the set of rules that is designed to maintain reliability. And so there have been a series of issues. We've had some reliability problems across the state, as you all know. And there have been a lot of problems pointed out with the structure of it. It is based on every utility and load serving entity CCA programs peak monthly demand. So they're going to be taking a different approach, and the commission's already signaled they want to explore a proposal from a PG&E, which was to cut each day up into a number of timeframes and seasons, and then set requirements that way. So talking about a different process that's used to set these requirements. And there's a whole host of issues that still need to be worked out. And there's a bunch of coordination that needs to occur, particularly with the California Independent System Operator. Nevertheless, I want to make you aware this process is starting. We had the first workshop a couple of weeks ago. Next workshop's coming up next week. There's a series of workshops. If anybody's interested, I could certainly circulate that list. But wanted to make sure you all were aware, if you hear about it, that the RA requirements are being overhauled. We wouldn't expect anything to occur until late next year in terms of a decision being issued. But I think before then, this will start to take shape, and so I anticipate reporting back to you all about it as this process advances. So that's my entire presentation for today. So happy to take any questions about any of that.
All right, any questions or comments? So I'm hoping that this resource adequacy overhaul is going to be a benefit to us. Would that help us? Less resource adequacy and all that?
Potentially, it could help us. Unfortunately, Cal CCA worked pretty diligently to develop a proposal as well that would have basically kind of done away with the RA framework and just looked at the energy that we have instead of this separate kind of construct that they have with RA. It's designed around capacity. That proposal did not get adopted, unfortunately, but there are aspects of it that we can still argue for, and the commission signal it's open to that. So I am hopeful that this will result in a better RA process for everybody. I think, it remains to be seen whether it will actually do so. We certainly have, our advocates there pushing for, things that will help the CCA programs out in this process.
That's good news. It seems that since there's been such an increase in CCAs that surely things are going to start to get better. I mean, I feel like we went to, are we 24 in 24 in California, or is that too high?
I can, personally, I cannot keep track of the number because it always
I guess that's good news, right?
Right, yes.
Okay.
So I'm the wrong person to ask. I know it's over 20, but I'm not sure what the exact number is. I agree with you, Chair Becker, that in terms of the influence of CCA programs, the more there are, our influence should certainly grow. I would like to see that happen as well.
All right. Well, thank you for that update. And
Thank you.
I see, thank you. So I see we have our CAC chair here. Where did he go? Oh, there he is right there. Mr. Warden, you are here. Councilmember Warden, would you like to jump in and do your report from the Clean Energy Alliance Community Advisory Committee?
Yes, I would be happy to. First, an apology for a bit of a delay. I've been watching from the beginning live stream. It took me a while to get the link to join you live, but here I am. We had a good Citizen Advisory Committee meeting. As you recall, we met once early in the year, then we moved up our second quarterly meeting so that we could provide input before we went live. So we haven't met since, I think, June. We had presentations from staff of each of the 3 member cities of CEA that went over the climate action plans for Carlsbad, Solana Beach, and Del Mar. Lots of discussion and questions were asked with a focus on what might CEA be able to do to help facilitate implementation of those climate action plans. And we left it that our next meeting, which will be in December, we will start trying as advisors to your board to make some recommendations on what we think the board should take a look at in that regard. And I would invite Barbara if she had any comments. She was on the line and very helpful too.
Yeah, thank you. Board member / chair, CAC chair Warden. Yeah, the Community Advisory Committee is very enthusiastic about being an active participant and being a true, I think, resource to the board. And so we're looking forward to coming up with ideas of ways that programs that Clean Energy Alliance might consider as it starts thinking about its next year's fiscal year budget to help with each of the member agencies to achieve their climate action plan goals. And the climate action plans actually identified or were very similar in the types of initiatives and areas that where they need to be addressed in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. For example, vehicle electrification is one area where it was consistent across the board. So we as a CCA can have programs that help to expand it. And so the CAC will be interested in bringing forth a recommendation to the board. They've also expressed an interest in potentially, as we consider the CAC's work plan and schedule for the coming year, that maybe they have more frequent meetings. And so I know that there will be a request coming from the committee to the board for the board's consideration in developing next year's plan now that we are fully launched, and they're ready to work. They're very enthused and ready to work.
Thanks, Barbara. I would add there, I would underscore that. I feel like the committee is in the starting blocks and starting to get leg cramps. They're ready to get going and dive into policy and make recommendations.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I jumped very quickly from item 3. There was no motion or action that needed to be taken. Is that correct? We were just going to file and receive that item number 3?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, if there's nothing further on those, we'll move on to item number 4. Oh, Vice Chair Bhat Patel?
Yeah, just wanted to add a little bit of context. Also, I know I had reached out to Ms. Boswell and mentioned that at least a few of the board members had also reached out to me saying that they would love, just like Councilmember Warden suggested, that folks are really ready to jump in and dive in and do some work. And so I just wanted to also echo that and make sure that we're doing everything we can to empower the committee, because I know that that was one of the biggest reasons why we have them, is to be kind of like the boots on the ground, giving us the feedback from the community, but then also giving us some of that, know-how based on their own expertise in this particular field. So I just wanted to echo that sentiment, and hopefully, we can get them kind of engaged a bit more and providing us with some more policy recommendations, like Councilmember just said. So I just wanted to make sure that I advocate for those that had reached out to me personally as well. So thank you.
So is that a future agenda item for us to set the work plan for the committee?
That's correct.
Okay. That would be great. Thank you. All right. Item number 4. Is this for our attorney or our CEO?
I could take care of this one, although the CEO did actually prepare the report. Barbara, do you want to go ahead and present it?
I'll bring it up and we can jointly be available. How's that? I'll run through the presentation.
That sounds good.
Okay. So the item before you for consideration is to adopt a resolution 2021-012, approving amendment number 1 to the Clean Energy Alliance Joint Powers Agreement that revises sections 5.1 and 5.2 for the chair and vice chair, and changing the terms from fiscal year to calendar year basis. And this request, or this change, comes as a request from the board at its July 29th, 2021 meeting, that we return with an amendment to the JPA to make that change. Our JPA document does provide a direction on the process needed to amend the JPA. It requires that we provide our member agencies a 30 days advance written notice of the change, which that was completed. And we heard no concerns or questions or comments from those member agencies. It also requires an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the boards to be approved. The current terms then, assuming that the board does approve that change, the current terms would expire this June 30th and would expire and then the new terms would begin. No, that's not correct. My presentation is incorrect. The current terms expire June 30th, and the new terms would expire December 31st, with the new terms January through December. And that does end my presentation. So I am available, as is our General Counsel, Greg Stepanisic, for any questions.
So you'll make those are the changes that are going to be in our bylaws, that the terms will be January 1st to December 31st.
Yeah.
And then the term, this chair and vice chair terms will expire December 31st. Well, the first meeting in January, actually, right?
Yes, that is correct. Yes, so that'd be the time action would take place on their positions.
Yes, so I guess actually, would we want it to take place the last meeting in December, because that would be the last week of December or so?
That actually is a good idea. So, and then the service of the new chair would occur on January 1.
Okay.
All right.
I
Very
would,
good. Is that a motion?
I would move approval.
All right.
Second.
Perfect. All right. Call for the vote.
Member Drucker,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bob Patel,
Aye.
Chair Becker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Item 5, and this is approval of assignment of a long-term renewable agreement. I'm going to turn that back to our Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you. And I will go back to share my screen for purposes of the presentation. So our last item number 5, is a consideration of assignment of a long-term renewable energy contract with Shell Energy North America for portfolio category 1, renewable energy, which is a priority of our board, that our renewable energy come from portfolio category 1 sources. It's a confirmation that had been entered into with Solana Beach for Solana Energy Alliance. That would be assigned to Clean Energy Alliance with deliveries of the energy for the period 2022 through 2034. So it does meet the requirements, the 10-year requirements. The total amount not to exceed is $1,131,000. That would be spread over that 12-year period, and that the board authorized the interim CEO to execute all documents. Solana Beach did enter into the agreement with Shell to satisfy the long-term renewable energy requirements for the then Solana Energy Alliance customers. And the board may recall that each load-serving entity, such as Clean Energy Alliance and Solana Energy Alliance, has a requirement to have 65% of its minimum required renewable energy be from contracts that are 10 years of length or longer. Those customers have now transferred to Clean Energy Alliance, and this assignment ensures that the long-term renewable requirement related to those customers continues to be met. Clean Energy Alliance can begin taking delivery of the energy produced by those existing renewable generating facilities in 2022. So it does assist us in meeting our requirements related to long-term renewable energy. It will be sourced from both solar and wind facilities. And the pricing of the contract is within current market rate, which we are familiar with because we have been in the process of negotiating contracts for long-term renewable energy. And this pricing is consistent with those prices. And I will, that does end my presentation, and I will be happy to entertain any questions that the board may have.
I see Councilmember Cooper.
Yes. So Barbara, what is the percentage of long-term contracts now?
With this, we are just about complete for the next 4 years with our long-term requirements. But as we project to grow, well, the minimum renewable increases annually, and so we know that beginning in within the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to be having to add new contracts, and so we will be opening solicitations here in the next several months, because we anticipate those to be new build facilities that take time to get financed and then constructed and then to start delivering energy. So we're going to start that process, that solicitation process, here in the next several months.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I would move approval.
Right. I'll second. Oh, second. Perfect. All right. Call for the vote.
Member Drucker,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bob Patel,
Aye.
Chair Becker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you very much. This one was shorter than the last meeting, I think, since, do we have any requests for future agenda items? We talked about a few. Is there any other that we can think of? Seeing none, I do want to remind Barb that she might want to change her background and get rid of that interim word. So, all right, everyone, we are adjourned. Our next meeting is October 28th, 2021, 2 p.m., hosted by the City of Del Mar virtually. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Have a good one. Thank you.